You have driven a road you know well and arrived with no memory of a single turn. Where were you? And the harder question, how much of your life is passing exactly like that road? 25 centuries ago, the Buddha gave this half-lived state a name: heedlessness. He said the heedless live as if already dead. He also taught the way out. That way is what we will walk here. You will see what has been quietly stealing your days. You will discover what meditation actually is. And you will learn the complete practice of calm abiding, the training that turns the mind from your greatest danger into your greatest friend. This is for anyone who has ever felt life slipping past unnoticed. If your thoughts will not stop at night, if you replay old conversations, if you are tired of being run by a mind you never chose, this teaching was spoken for you. Along the way, you will meet a dog chewing a splintered bone. And when you see what the dog gets wrong, you may recognize someone. You will also hear the promise the Buddha left waiting at the end of it. A tamed mind brings happiness. So settle in, let the day loosen its grip, and take the first step toward taking your mind back. Taking your mind back begins with a strange discovery. Your mind was never sitting idle while you were away. All those unremembered hours, the showers you never felt, the meals you never tasted, were never blank. Something filled them. Something chose what you reached for, what you replayed, what you said with your name attached. An absent owner does not mean an empty house. It means an unwatched tenant. And for the next while, you are going to watch that tenant work. Start with a small experiment, because you should never take a claim like this on faith. You believe your thoughts are yours. You believe that you think them, the way you lift a cup or close a door, deliberately, on command. So give your mind one command. Choose the worry that has been circling you this week and decide right now that you will not think about it for the next 60 seconds. Just 60 seconds of freedom from one thought. Notice how quickly it walks straight back in, without knocking. Now try the opposite. Choose one pleasant image and hold it, only it, for the same 60 seconds. Notice how it slips away mid-breath, replaced by something you never invited. You cannot evict what you do not want. You cannot keep what you do want. So in what sense, exactly, is this mind yours? Sit with that question, because it is the doorway to everything that follows. We say I think the way we say I breathe, but you do not manufacture your breaths one by one, and you do not manufacture your thoughts either. They arrive. They arrive the way weather arrives, out of conditions you never see, and they leave the same way. A more honest sentence than I am thinking would be, thinking is happening and someone is being dragged along behind it. We assume we are free because no one is visibly forcing us. There is no jailer at the door, no hand on the back of the neck. But watch a single hour of your inner life honestly and count the choices. A phone buzzes and your attention leaps before any decision happens. A song drifts from a passing car and suddenly you are 20 years old again in someone's kitchen. A smell from a doorway and you are in your grandmother's house. A tone in a colleague's voice and a whole afternoon curdles. There used to be arcade machines where a steel ball ricocheted between bumpers, flung left and right by whatever it struck, lights flashing, going nowhere. That ball is not a bad picture of an ordinary hour, of an ordinary mind. Struck, launched, struck again. And at the end of the hour, we call the trajectory my choices. Trace one real hour and see. You sit down to work with a clear intention. A notification lands, and you check it, because checking is not a decision anymore. It is a reflex with your name on it. The message has a tone. The tone reminds you of last month's criticism. The criticism launches a small defensive speech you begin composing to no one. Composing makes you restless. Restlessness walks you to the kitchen. The kitchen produces a snack you did not want. The snack produces a flicker of guilt, and the guilt sends you back to the phone for relief, where someone's holiday photos are waiting to make your whole life feel slightly too small. 40 minutes have passed. The work sits untouched. Count the choices you made in that chain. The honest number is close to 0. It gets stranger, because the deepest captivity is not being bounced between thoughts. It is vanishing into them. Notice what actually happens when a sticky thought arrives. For a moment, you are a person having a thought. Then the border quietly dissolves, and there is no longer a person and a thought. There is only the thought wearing you like a coat. You come to 10 minutes later, mid-argument, with someone who is not in the room, your jaw tight, your pulse up, one hand gesturing at the empty air of the kitchen. Where were you for those 10 minutes? Inside a dream is the honest answer. A dream with your eyes open. Nobody sleepwalking at midnight goes as far as we go at noon. At least the dreams of sleep have the decency to end. Morning comes, the nonsense dissolves, and you laugh at the burning house that was also somehow your school. The waking dream has no such mercy. It renews itself hour after hour, and it never announces itself as a dream. Its most dangerous productions are the quiet ones about you. A thought arrives that says I am failing, or I am unlovable, or I have wasted my chances. If you saw it as a thought, a cloud crossing shaped by an old sky, it would pass like one. But fusion closes the gap before you can look. The thought stops being something you have and becomes something you are. No one questions their own name. And so the sentence settles in, not as opinion, just as fact, quietly furnishing the house you live in. And of all the dreams that swallow us, one kind holds us longest. The old Tibetan teachers had an image for it, and they made it deliberately hard to forget. Those teachers spoke to herders and farmers, people who would never read a philosophy text. So they carved their psychology into pictures a person could carry for life. This one has traveled 8 centuries to reach you, and it will earn the trip. A dog finds a bone. It is an old bone, dried out, long since stripped of meat. There is nothing on it and nothing in it. But the dog settles down in the dust and begins to chew. It chews until the bone splinters, and the splinters cut its gums. Blood starts to seep into its mouth, warm and rich. And here is the turn that makes the image immortal. The dog tastes that blood and believes the bone has finally begun to yield. At last, the flavor it was promised. So it bites down harder. The harder it bites, the deeper the splinters cut, the richer the taste becomes. The dog is drinking its own blood and calling it nourishment. And it will growl if you try to take the bone away. You have a bone. You know exactly which one. It might be an argument from 3 years ago that you have refought 1,000 times. It might be one sentence a parent said decades back that still knows your address. The betrayal you never saw coming. The apology that never came. The version of that night where you finally say the perfect thing and their face falls and justice is done at last. Every time the mind drifts, it finds the bone right where it left it. It settles down in the dust, and it chews. And the argument is only the most obvious bone in the yard. There is the mirror bone, chewed every morning, the merciless inventory of a face and a body that never quite pass inspection. There is the career bone, the one shaped like the person from your class who went further, gnawed raw on quiet Sunday evenings. There is the parenting bone, the words you said in anger to a child, replayed until the guilt bleeds fresh. And there is the last chew of the day, the one you know intimately, lying in the dark, the body exhausted, the lights finally off, and the jaw beginning its night shift on whatever the day left unresolved. Remember the strangest detail of the old image. The dog growls if you reach for the bone. Watch yourself defend your grievances. Watch how you retell the story to friends, polishing it, refreshing the blood, recruiting witnesses for a trial that will never be held. Some of our bones have been chewed so long that we no longer know who we would be without them. Whole conversations run on them. 2 friends meet for coffee and trade bones across the table, each waiting politely to resume their own chewing. Whole families keep a shared bone at the center of the house, passed down like heirloom silver, polished by every generation. The chewing can look so much like closeness that giving it up feels like losing the relationship itself. Be very precise about what is happening in those moments, because precision is what frees you. The pain feels like it comes from them, from what they said, from what they did, from how unfair it was. The taste of blood seems to prove the bone is full of something. But look around the room. They are not here. They have not been here for years. Some of them are no longer alive. Whatever they did once, and your replaying has done it to you 500 times since. There is exactly one person in the room where the chewing happens. One jaw, one bone, one bleeding mouth, and it is yours. Then why do we keep chewing? Because every single replay arrives with a promise. This time you will understand why they did it. This time you will find the thing you should have said. This time the scene will end differently and the account will finally balance. The promise is a lie, and it is always the same lie. The scene is finished. It is the one thing in the universe that cannot be otherwise, because it has already happened. Chewing cannot change the bone. It can only cut the mouth. And each replay does something worse than hurt. It rehearses. Every run through the old scene deepens the groove, makes tomorrow's replay easier, more automatic, more convincing. You are not processing the wound. You are practicing it. The mind has one more excuse ready, and it sounds almost wise. It says the chewing is protection. If I keep the betrayal fresh, I will see the next one coming. If I keep the failure vivid, I will never repeat it. But examine what the replaying actually trains. It does not sharpen your eyes. It sharpens the wound. A lesson can be extracted from the past in one clear look, the way you take a splinter out of a hand. Once, cleanly, and then the healing starts. Rumination takes the splinter out and puts it back, out and back, 1,000 times, and calls the procedure learning. The Buddha put the whole mechanism into one image of his own, recorded in the early discourses. When pain strikes a person, he said, it is like being hit by an arrow. The event itself, the loss, the insult, the failure, that is the first arrow, and no one gets through a human life without being struck. But then the untrained mind does something remarkable. It picks up a second arrow and drives it into the same wound. The second arrow is everything the mind adds. The replaying, the blaming, the why me, the endless retelling. One arrow came from the world. Every arrow after that came from your own hand. The first arrow took a moment. The second arrow has, for some wounds, been going in for 20 years. But the past is only half of where the absent mind goes. The other half of the dream points forward. When the mind is done chewing what already happened, it starts writing what might. And it writes with the budget of a big studio. The scan comes back wrong. The economy collapses and takes the house with it. The plane shakes, then keeps shaking, Your partner grows quiet, and the quiet means what you fear it means. None of these productions is real, and every one of them is filmed on location in your body. Your chest tightens for a diagnosis no doctor has given. Your heart pounds for a crash that exists only in the screening room behind your eyes. The body cannot tell rehearsal from performance. It suffers the imagined future at full price, every showing, and the future never even has to arrive. Watch how one of these productions gets financed. It starts with a single seed, small enough to seem harmless. The boss said we need to talk. Within 3 links, the mind has you dismissed. 3 more and the savings are gone. A few more and you are explaining to your family, in a scene complete with lighting and dialogue, why everything they relied on has collapsed. Each link feels reasonable at the moment it is forged, and the chain as a whole is madness. The mind will tell you this is planning. It is lying about its job description. Planning looks at a real situation once, chooses a step, and puts the file down. You can feel it complete itself. Worry never puts the file down. Worry produces no step, no decision, nothing but a fresh appetite for more worry. If a thing can be done about the feared future, planning has already found it. Everything after that is just the body being made to attend rehearsals of a play that may never open. Here you might object that you also imagine good futures, and surely that is harmless. Surely that is just hope. Look closely at hope, then, because almost no one does. Hope has a gentle face, and underneath it, it is running the same operation as fear. Both insist that life is elsewhere. Fear says the future holds the disaster. Hope says the future holds the goods, the promotion, the relationship, the body, the house, the version of you that finally feels complete. And so hoping quietly teaches you that now is a waiting room. Real life will start after the next thing lands. You have been telling yourself that since school, and each time the next thing landed, the horizon moved. Meanwhile, hope generates its own private ache, craving, scarcity, the low hum of not yet, expectations that reality can never quite be paid against. Ask yourself how many evenings hope has eaten, keeping you leaning toward a tomorrow that, when it came, you also leaned straight through. You have run this experiment already, many times, and the results are in. Somewhere in your life right now is a thing you once craved so hard it hurt. The job you now complain about, the phone you now scroll numbly, the person who's breathing beside you at night you no longer hear. Each of these was once the finish line. Each arrival lasted about a weekend. Then the ache packed its bags and moved to a new address, and the waiting room filled up again. So there they are, the 2 directions of the dream. Backward into scenes that cannot be changed. Forward into scenes that do not exist. Chewing and screenwriting, grief and rehearsal, the bone and the script. You can watch the handoff between them on any difficult evening. The mind chews an old humiliation for a while, gets sore, and switches theatres straight into next week's imagined confrontation, then back again, past to future to past, like a man pacing between two rooms of a house with no ground floor. They look like opposites, and they are one single motion, the motion of leaving the only place where life is actually served. Nothing you love has ever happened in the past or the future. Every meal you ever tasted, every hand you ever held, every breath that ever steadied you, all of it happened here, in the one moment the wandering mind treats as a corridor between two theatres. And look at what the corridor actually contains, right now, while the theatres are showing their reruns. Somewhere near you there is warmth, a cup, a lamp, a shoulder. There is air moving in and out of you without being asked. There may be a person in the next room who loves you, tonight, in the present tense, while you sit reviewing evidence from a decade ago. None of this is poetry. It is inventory. These are the actual holdings of the actual moment, and they are handed to you again and again, unopened. Something useful has already begun, just from looking at all this. The next time you surface mid-argument in an empty kitchen, some part of you will recognize the room. The next time the blood tastes rich, a small voice will ask whose blood it is. That flicker of recognition seems like nothing. It is everything. A dream you have recognized as a dream has already begun to lose its grip on you. The dog cannot be reasoned with, but the man watching the dog is no longer entirely the dog, and that small distance is where every path out begins. And notice, finally, that no one is doing this to you. There is no enemy to defeat. The dog, the bone, the studio, the steel ball, the bumpers, the whole machine sits inside one skull, and it runs on habit, using your own energy, your own hours, your own blood. This is worth a moment of strange comfort, too. Every person you will pass today is carrying the same machine. The driver who cut you off was mid-argument with someone from 10 years ago. The friend who seemed cold was 3 scenes deep into a disaster that will never happen. When the Buddha looked at humanity, this is what he saw: a world of good hearts, chewing. His response was never contempt. It was the response of a physician who has finally isolated the disease. You might still want to file all this under harmless. Everyone drifts, everyone chews, everyone rehearses. Surely the cost is only some lost hours and a little second-hand pain. One of the oldest Buddhist poems disagrees. It says the wandering mind is not merely wasting its time, it is standing somewhere dangerous. Where exactly it is standing, and what is standing there with it, is the next thing to see.